This upcoming weekend, AEW will be presenting its latest pay-per-view event, AEW Full Gear. And as we kick it into another gear, we're going to go ahead and predict every single matchup currently on the card as of this recording. So go ahead, sit back and relax. And before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more wrestling content. And make sure you like this video if you want to continue the conversation regarding AEW, WWE, or even TNA wrestling. But with that being said, let's jump right into the first matchup here. The AEW Women's World Championship will be on the line as Chris Statlander defends her championship against Mercedes Moné. This is a big time matchup for many reasons. One, it is the premier title for the women's division in AEW, but also Mercedes Moné just recently won her 13th World Championship and is looking to make the way to earning her 14th. Never been done before, probably will never be done again, but Mercedes Moné is carving out quite the resume for her ever since her post WWE departure. With Chris Statlander, she just recently won the World Championship. We've had this storyline ever since, the inception of Chris Statlander's win. It's been very much hinted at and alluded to that Mercedes Moné is gunning for that championship. It's the one title she has not been able to get her hands on in AEW, of course, being that she is the reigning TBS champion. I love Chris Statlander. I love the growth in her character and certainly in her in-ring work as well. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think that we're building up for Mercedes Moné to ultimately add the crown jewel to her list of accolades and win that world championship. I got Mercedes Moné going over, beating Chris Statlander, maybe due to some kind of chicanery, some kind of screwy finish that has the heel going over. It's very apparent that they want to load up Mercedes Moné with as many titles as they can to own that record. For me, the concern has always been, how do we get these titles off of her? Is she going to be vacating the championship? Is she going to be losing the championships one by one? I'm very curious to see how that'll go. But for the time being, I'm thinking we're going to crown a new world champion and have Mercedes Moné at a record 14th championship to her long list of accolades. The team of Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus will be teaming up with Kenny Omega as they take on the trios team of the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and Don Callis family representative Josh Alexander. A lot of talent all around in this ring. I'm looking forward to it, one, because of the stakes that are up in the air, and that, of course, is the money that's up for grabs. It is it's $1 million for whoever were to win this matchup. We've already seen the Bucks versus Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy Jack Perry for a set of money that the Jurassic Express already won. You add in that level of detail, that extra level of depth of Kenny Omega and the history that he has had with the Bucks, of course, being in their days of the Elite, and it's making sure that there's a lot of level of intrigue in this one. Accompany that with the intrigue of Don Callis trying to recruit the Bucks to his family. There's a lot of moving parts here. They've been hinting at possibly the Bucks turning babyface against the Don Callis family. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they have too much history with Kenny Omega and the Jurassic Express for them to turn babyface. Jurassic Express has already won one of these matches already in terms of the prize. I think I'm going to go with the heels here and have Josh Alexander and the Young Bucks win out. They win the matchup, they win the money, and I kind of want to see what it would be like the Bucks being represented by Don Callis. I'm going to rock with the heels to win this one in what should be a highly entertaining matchup. Sticking with the tag team division, we're going to go to Bro Dito, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, as they defended against FTR. This one has the potential to steal the show. I think the makeshift team of Brody King and Bandito has certainly been a revelation in the tag team division and has really showcased Bandito in a new light for those who aren't watching Ring of Honor. And Brody King he's a beast of his own. But you put them up against one of the best tag teams in the world right now, FTR, and I have no doubt in my mind that this will be, if not one of the highlights of the night. Love what we've been doing with Brodito, but I think it's very apparent that's going to be a short-term story for them. I think what FTR has been doing, certainly with Stokely Hathaway, has been a level above of what they were doing prior, but I'm going to go with FTR to win the tag titles here and reestablish themselves as the focal point of the division and continuing to have just spectacular matches with all contenders that come their way. We're going to go with FTR to win the World Tag Team Championships. And speaking of championships, it has been announced that a new title will be making its way to All Elite Wrestling. Of course, I'm referring to the AEW National Championship, which is being described as a championship that will be defended across places like New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, obviously AEW, maybe CMLL. A big, shout out to the old NWA World Championship and how they would have a traveling champion. As of right now, we don't have too many names announced for this Casino Gauntlet matchup. What we know is it's the Hurt Syndicate's Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, both members of Jet Speed, and Ricochet. Not a lot of names to go off in terms of a prediction, and I do think that the winner of this matchup isn't already named. I think it's going to be a surprise. This is probably the most difficult matchup to predict because, again, there's so many moving variables, so many different pieces to the puzzle that we can't even predict. If I had to nail it down to one name, though, and it's very difficult, but I feel like someone from the Don Callis family wins this matchup. I personally would have gone with Josh Alexander as my prediction, but being that he's already in a matchup, in a trios matchup, teaming with the Bucks, as we already talked about, I kind of already take him out of consideration. Other people that could be, in line for that, I would have thought Will Ospreay, but I'm not sure where he is in terms of his injury and when he's going to be coming back into the fold. This one's by far the most difficult to predict. Could it be someone that's outside of AEW, being that it's going to be a traveling championship? I don't think so. I think the inaugural winner is going to be someone that is already tied to the company and is already tied to just the championship itself. And I think AEW is trying to go out of its way to establish one, a new star, but two, someone that can do justice with this championship. And when we look back, it'll be a name that we'll remember as, oh, wow, yeah, he was the first ever national champion. I'm going to go out on a limb. I did talk about the Don Callis family, but Josh Alexander would have been my bet. I think, what about a guy like Claudio? Claudio Castagnoli, who I think is one of the best workers in AEW, certainly one of the best workers in the Death Riders. It's a long shot, it's a wild card, but I'm going to go with Claudio Castagnoli and see what they can do there. This is the one prediction I'm not really confident about because there's just so many different names that could be thrown into there. And speaking of the Death Riders, the next matchup we're going to discuss is Pac versus Darby Allin. A sleeper pick, if you ask me, because a lot of people are going to be looking at these championship title matches, the Casino Gauntlet matchup, the Steel Cage match, which we'll get to in a second here. But Darby Allin, who consistently throws caution to the wind, has no regard for his own well-being or that of his opponents, will be going on with a familiar face in Pac. The last time we saw these two together, there was fire involved, and it was in the Blood and Guts matchup. This should be a barn burner, and as of right now, there is no stipulation added to it, but that could always change before we get to the show itself. Darby Allin has made it his mission to dispatch up every single member of the Death Riders. He's already had his matchups with Jon Moxley. He's already had matches with the likes of Danny Garcia. He is now having a one-on-one matchup with Pac. But because the baby faces went over and they won the Blood and Guts matchup, I don't know if we're going to have back-to-back losses for someone in the Death Riders. I also look at Pac, and he's not someone that gets a lot of recognition in AEW. He's always been used as this side character or maybe as like the menacing piece to a group. I think Pac gets the victory here, beats Darby Allin because Darby Allin can take it and be just fine. He'll move on with his career. He'll move on with the storyline. I will go Pac here, especially because I feel like he would benefit it more than a Darby Allin win. So we're going to go for Pac. This matchup is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. It's going to be a no disqualification matchup as Mark Briscoe challenges Kyle Fletcher for the AEW TNT Championship, and the added stipulation that if Briscoe loses, he will have to join the Don Callis family. This is one of many matches that Briscoe and Fletcher have had in recent memory, and every time it seems that Mark Briscoe is going to get that victory, Kyle Fletcher either outsmarts him, outcheats him, but finds a way to win the matchup. The added stipulation of having Briscoe join the Don Callis family, that's an interesting wrinkle in the prediction scheme here. Traditionally, I would go ahead and pick Mark Briscoe just because I think you can't beat this guy so many times and just not have him win. But how would I see him join the Don Callis family if he were to lose? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Kyle Fletcher is destined for bigger and better things, moving up the card, certainly, and maybe challenging for the World Championship again against Hangman Adam Page, maybe in the near future. But I'm going to go with Mark Briscoe here. I think the added step of the no DQ clause also helps his case, because now will there only be interference from the Don Callis family, but maybe the conglomeration to try to even out the odds. I think Mark Briscoe finally gets his hands on that TNT title that he's been vying for the better part of a year now against Kyle Fletcher. So we're gonna go Mark Briscoe. Finally, in the main event, Hangman Adam Page defends that world championship against Samoa Joe inside of the steel cage. I told you I was looking forward to that no DQ matchup. I am still looking very much forward to this cage match. Samoa Joe, one of the best in the last quarter century. Hangman Adam Page, the main character of AEW, and it's inside a steel cage. Sign me up. But with that being said, it's probably the most predictable matchup on the card. I can't see Hangman losing, so close to his victory. Love Samoa Joe. I think he's one of the greats to do it. But I think the safe bet, if there's one matchup that you're going to be betting on this upcoming weekend, it's going to be Hangman beating Samoa Joe. I'm just hoping for a good match. I'm hoping for a good show. And I'm hoping that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like the video, comment down below some of your predictions for AEW Full Gear. Subscribe to the channel for more content regarding pro wrestling. And of course, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. And thank you for hanging out with us for this predictions video. And we'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you check out one of these. And since you're already here, consider subscribing to the channel for more pro wrestling content.